Hello and welcome to the oddschecker betting show. This is a delayed Ebor festival preview. I'm your host, George Elek, and I'm joined by two expert tips, of course, oddschecker's very own Andy Holding, and a welcome return. It's been a while, Ed. Ed Quigley joining us on the oddschecker betting show as well. Ed, I'll start with you. Haven't seen you for a while. Counting down the days to Cheltenham as ever?
Yeah, absolutely. 9 weeks, 1 day to the October meetings counting, and we're about 212 to the festival. I need to check my my timesheet behind the laptop. But anyway, it'll soon be here, the October meeting. But in the meantime, it's a wonderful 4 days on the Knavesmire, isn't it? York, Ebor meeting, right up there with the very best flat action you're going to get throughout the calendar year.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I envisage you coming down the stairs after you brush your teeth and back Spieth for the Masters first thing. I then imagine you come downstairs and there's just lines on your fridge, and every day you come down and you wipe one line off.
You're not a million miles off, actually, yeah, because my biggest anti-post, the dreaded word portfolio, actually would be Spieth for the green jacket next year. That's currently my biggest outlay, ahead of Zanahiyr for the Stayers Hurdle. So we're firmly set in next spring. As much as I don't want to wish the rest of the summer and the autumn away.
I love how when you're talking about Spieth and Zanahiyr there, you're looking just to your left as if we've always got like the ticker down there. Like, what are my biggest liabilities here? And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You wonder why myself and my wife don't talk much anymore. Yes, those kind of priorities are dwarfing this corner of my desk. Put it that way.
And Andy, it's been a while since we spoke. We're normally chatting every week, but it's been a while since I've been able to. I've had a couple of holidays. We've had a couple of weeks off. How's everything going with you?
Yeah, not too bad. July was a little bit messy. I don't know what it is, but I have struggled in the bigger meetings this year. When I look back at my sort of profit and loss for the last couple of seasons, and I've just noticed a little bit of a dip this year for some reason with the likes of Ascot and Glorious Goodwood Galway. There was highlights amongst them, but they've been costing me dear. But August has been okay, and amazing. My probably least look forward to meeting with regard to punting, which is York this week, which obviously we're going to do. I've started off 2 for 2, so I think I need to call it a day while I'm still ahead.
I did. I texted you yesterday when Dover Legend won at York and said, because obviously you put Dover Legend up at, was it 16-1 at Ascot? Got beat off 89. How on earth did we manage to get Dover Legend beaten off 89? You've carried on making profit off the back of him since then. I haven't had the stomach to get back on the horse. So anyway, well done you, and good to get a couple of winners in. We're gonna go through the cards on Friday and Saturday at York. We're recording this just before the opener on Thursday. We have prices for all the races. We'll go through it race by race. But I've said to the guys, as is always the case, if given we're trying to get through 12 races, if there's no view, that they'll say so and won't put up anything just for the sake of it. Before we get into the racing, just going to point everybody in the direction of the oddschecker app. Download it now for the best prices, bookie offers, free bets, place terms, always crucial in these big meetings as well. And some of the best tipsters in the game, including Andy himself and others across sports on the app. So do check that out. But let's get into the opener on Friday. We're going to go through this, go through the cards on both days. 14 races, isn't it? 7 on each day. And we have the 1 mile 4 1.5 handicap is the opener on Friday. Juan De Montalban 15-2, Cormier 8-1. Maharajan 8-1, Lord Protector 9-1, Thundering 11-1, Charging Thunder and Amatiaz and Moktasab all 12-1, 14-1 bar. 19 run here. Skybet goes 7 places, a couple more going 6 places. And you said just before we went on air, Ed, that you had a fancy in this one. Who was it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was thinking normally for the winter shows I should be sat with my Ben Pooling gilet on. Well, I need my like King Power silks for today's show because nice. I just without realising it really, it's kind of where I'm going for a lot of these. So I thought perhaps the forgotten horse in here in what is quite a wide open encounter was Angel Power for the Roger Varian team. I mean, they're in great form at the moment. And just looking back through form, she's 1 from 1 on the Knavesmire. She bolted up here on their only previous start. I do like course form on the Knavesmire, but it's interesting. She's totally, she's kind of lost her way, but she's as a consequence, dropped a very dangerous mark now. She's dropped to 96. This is a previous Group 2 winner. So she's looking well handicapped on old form. And then I always look for a reason, well, why can you retrieve that old form, if you like? Well, I think 12 furlongs could be the question, the big tick in the box, if you like, because she's only had the one crack at it, which was last time out when she stepped up to 12 for the first time in the Shergar Cup, and definitely went into the unlucky category. I mean, probably not to win, but to at least have been placed at the 2 furlong marker, went for a run up the inner, and the door closed, if you like. Had to kind of switch round runners, and then got going too late once that ship had sailed. But on that evidence and the evidence of the run before, which was over 10 furlongs at Newcastle, which is quite a stiff 10, again, just looked kind of outpaced at the crucial stage over that shorter trip before getting going again too late. She's totally unexposed over 12 furlongs. I just think she wants a proper test of stamina now these days. As I said, she's 1 for 1 at the track. She's dropped down the weight. You know, she's rated 103 at the start of the summer. She's getting in here off 96. So she's come down the weights. The yard are flying. She's 1 for 1 at the course, and she's totally untapped over this middle distance trip, of which I think could see her kind of get back to the form she was showing a year ago. So look, don't get me wrong, it's incredibly competitive, and you can make a case for 6 or 7 of these, quite a cogent case really. But I do think she's a little bit of the forgotten horse in here. She said she's a previous Group 2 winner, floating around in a handicap off a mark in the 90s, and her old form entitles her to be banging the mix here. So she'll do for me from an each way perspective.
Angel Power, 20 to 1 best price. That's with Bet365, who are 6 places. Sky Bet, who I mentioned, standing out with 7 places. They're 16 to 1 if you wanted to take the extra place. Andy, any view in the first?
Not a strong one, but similarly to Ed, part of my main strategy at York would be to, as and when, go for horses that have got course and distance form, or at least run at the Nays Mire at some stage. So with that in mind, I'd probably go with Cormier, who I think is the only, or one of 2 only course and distance winners in the field. That was last year, of course. And as we well know with him, he's a fairly reliable performer in big field handicaps, particularly over hurdles. He was a good winner last time out at Chester, clocking a reasonably good time. So obviously comes in good nick. A little bit of ease in the ground won't do him any harm, though I've obviously 1 or 2 little forecasts of showers around. So he'd be my number 1 choice. And the other one I'd probably have a little bit of a look at and throw into the mix is Thundering from the Kevin Ryan stable. Of course, Kevin had Bergerac open up the meeting for us yesterday with a winner. And I do think this 3-year-old has got a bit of potential going forward. He's rated 87, but I don't think we've quite got to the ceiling of him yet. By and large, he's just running some very good 3-year-old handicaps or 3-year-old novice events. That race beyond Elder, Edgar Elder off early on in the season when he was 5th has worked out particularly well, and he's done pretty much nothing wrong since. He just got nutted by a strong stay with William Haggis's last time at Newcastle. So yeah, I think off a mark of was it 90? I think he should be in the mix, I would have thought. So yeah, 2 against the field for me, Cormier and Thundering as well.
A mark of 87, Thundering 11 to 1, Cormier 8 to 1 with a few firms there. Move on to the second race on the day, big one as well, the Lonsdale Cup. Stradivarius is 11 to 8, Trueshan 2 to 1, Coltrane 13 to 2, Tashcan 9 to 1, Quickthorn 14 to 1, 50 to 1, Reshun mostly cloudy, and Nate the Great 66 to 1. So we see Stradivarius and Trueshan likely come up against each other, but with Kyprios no longer there, Andy. So who do you think will come off best in this tussle?
Well, the form book says Stradivarius, and his track form says Stradivarius. And a lot depends on what the ground is for Trueshan. It wasn't Alan King's horse's favourite Goodwood, but he still ran admirably. Put it this way, I think if this race was to be run the first day, and let's say as it is for Friday, it dried out, then I think Trueshan probably would have beaten Stradivarius on the first day, because there was definitely sufficient juice in the ground for Trueshan to be fully effective. But if, like I say, it continues to dry, then obviously it goes in Stradivarius' favour. We've had this conversation, haven't we, pretty much for the last 18 months, maybe 2 years with these two. I think everybody knows the tale of the tape. If it's fast ground, Stradivarius is very good, and he'd probably beat Trueshan. And it's the other way around if there is ease in the ground. So you couldn't be dogmatic at this very moment in time until you've seen what happens on the Thursday, and in particular what happens between now as we speak going into tomorrow. I think the cop-out bet is Coltrane. If all 8 go to post and Trueshan does take his chance. I thought he ran really well at Goodwood. I'm not sure Goodwood really suited Andrew Balding's horse, but he only just finished on the coattails of the likes of Stradivarius and Trueshan, and I'm pretty sure he'll be in the first 3. If you're looking for an each-way bet to nothing, or perhaps using him for some each-way multiples, I certainly wouldn't put you off him. And of course, he is a course winner. He won the Melrose. I think it was last year before he went on to his meteoric rise up the ranks. So from a betting perspective, without getting involved in the toss of the coin, which is usually Stradivarius and Trueshan, I'd probably go with Coltrane each way, and like I said, and put him in some each way multiples.
Coltrane 13-2 best price with Bet365 Hills and Bet Victor as it stands. 8 runners in at the moment for the Lonsdale Cup, and if one does come out between now and race time tomorrow at 2:25, then of course you won't be getting your 3 places after final decks. Ed, an each way angle there from Andy. Did you have a strong view on who should be favourite at the top end? Do you think Stradivarius is the right favourite, or are you looking for an each way play as well?
Yeah, at the time of recording, I think Stradivarius is the right favourite. Obviously, Trueshan, it's been there to the cows come home about underfoot conditions. So to go to my usual Michael Fish info, I mean, I've been checking the Knaves Mile weather through various outlets, and we've got anywhere, obviously we're recording this on Thursday afternoon, there's anywhere between 1 millimetre and 5 millimetres of rain due Thursday night into Friday, depending on which forecast you look at it. So you'd like to think the upper end of that 5 mil, if that just starts to get in the ground, that will just deaden it up a little bit and swing it in Trueshan's favour. If the rain ends up missing, then there's a chance Trueshan comes out and the race collapses. So all in all, I think it's a race you don't need to be desperate to have a bet in, really, do you? It's just one to savour. Look, we all be cheering Stradivarius home. We want to see him just go and win again, but you do just wonder whether the old boy's just started to lose the winning habit, yet still running with plenty of credit in defeat. So all in all, I just think there's too many unknowns. I'd probably want to be playing this very late, depending on I know exactly how the ground's riding, etc. So one I'm very happy to swerve and just cheer on the old boy from the sofa, to be honest with you.
Lovely stuff. On then to the Gym Crack, where Noble Style is a 3-1 joint favourite with Marshman and Royal Scotsman. Clear Point is 9-1. Chateau 12-1. Never Just a Dream 20-1. Catch the Paddy 22-1. Waiting All Night 25s. Cold Case 25s. 28-1. Galleron and Lakota Blue and Chuzzlewit 40-1. Andy, I'll come to you first here because I know that Noble Style's first run almost broke the clock. Don't see next time out winning against Beat Millstream, who ran an okay race over 7 yesterday, but didn't really quite stay the trip. Have you got a negative by Noble Style since that first run, or do you still think that he's the one to follow into this?
No, not really, George. No, he showed 2 sides of his game, hasn't he, so far to date? At Ascot first time out, he tracked a very strongly run race, picked them up quick and away, and you marked him down as a potential horse for glory at the Royal meeting. Unfortunately, it didn't make the gig. I think the Coventry was going to be his race, so they were clearly thinking 6 furlongs straight away after that initial run. And then, of course, he went to Newmarket off the back of a big break. There was ifs and buts whether a lack of preparation might just catch him out, but in a slightly more slower run race, it wasn't a crawl, but a slower one than he had on debut. He showed a really good turn of foot to beat 2 colts of fairly high regard. His back-end sectionals were very good. I think he did 33 and change, which was the best on the card. That's twice now that he's shown a really good turn of foot. One off a very strong gallop, one off a medium gallop. He's just a very good horse. He's top of our figures, not by a mile, but he's still top courtesy of that first run. But this is a very spicy race, isn't he? Obviously, you've got Royal Statesman, the vintage winner. Scotsman, beg your pardon. He ran really well in the Coventry, the race that Noble Style didn't make. I thoroughly respect him. But Marshman's the fly in the ointment. Sometimes those wide margin winners can look you can overplay them, and they tend to get over-evaluated. But his number when he won at first last time out was very good. Not quite as good as Noble Style, but certainly enough to be considering him here or respecting him. He looks as though he's got a good temperament, a good turn of foot. So the front 3 in the market, you've got three big players, and you can make cases out for them all. Personally, out of the 3, I'd stick with Noble Style. If I was going to chuck perhaps 1 or maybe another 2 into the mix, and I don't want to overcomplicate it, but I was quite taken by Never Just a Dream, Ishmael Mohammed's horse at Wolverhampton the other day. He was very well fancied on his debut at Ascot. He completely blew out. They nibbled at him at prices at Dunstall Park, and He was drawn right out on the wing, and he showed incredible pace to get to the front, almost a little bit too much. He was a bit exuberant. And I thought, this horse is never going to get home, but he just kept quickening and lengthening, and he basically ground out a really good result in a very fast time. A time that puts him up there with some of the best of these. So at 20-1, he's definitely worth the look. And if you're looking for the old course and distance form, then Cold Case comes into the argument. Also at 1 year, 2 starts ago, not disgraced at Chester last time out when didn't think he handled the track. And you get 25-1 for him. So a really, really exciting race. I think Noble Style is the pick down the front end. But as I mentioned, those at prices, Never Just a Dream and Cold Case, they're also very much in the mix as well.
Respect for a lot of these. Never Just a Dream 20-1 with Bet 365, Cold Case 25-1 with the same firm. Sky Bet also go 5 places, 4 places with plenty of others. Ed, who do you fancy in this?
Yeah, good. Sorry, George. I'm admiring your tan. I was just thinking.
Thank you very much.
You're spending a lot of time in the East London Riviera, by the looks of it.
A lot of time on the golf course. I was lucky enough to be in the Costa del Devon as well during the heatwave last week. So it was a lot of time on the beach, and if not on the beach, then on the greens. So that's the excuse.
Absolute brilliant. Yeah, I went to Greece and came back with less of a tan than when I left. So there we go. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I digress. Back to this. Yeah, as Andy says, excited types, plenty of potential. I suppose just subjectively, like the performance of Marshman was one of those kind of got the juices flowing a little bit. It was a bit of a wow moment. I know it was a minor event at Thirsk, etc., but it was kind of, that horse really took off. Looked really exciting, and it's a little bit reminds me of in the sense of, I remember when Bradsell won earlier in season, I think won by a similar margin, like 8 or 9 lengths, and I remember Andy saying a similar kind of thing. It's hard to know sometimes with those wide margin wins, when they just blow apart the field by such a distance. Everyone goes head over heels, and they never quite live up to billing and replicate it. Well, I'm hoping Marshman's more in that Bradsell kind of camp, because there just seemed to be so many gears there. And when Marshman was asked to really go and lengthen, I mean, the rest of the field were mesmerised, weren't they? So again, it's one where, the Royal Scotsman's obviously achieved more. Noble Style arguably has achieved more and looks pretty smart. But yeah, Marshman is the joker in the pack, and is the one that's how should you say, just excited me the most from what we've seen so far. So yeah, tentatively, but I'm with Marshman here.
Just a little side there as well before we crack on or move on. Just bear in mind the draw as well there tomorrow, because obviously day one very much saw a bias towards those that were drawn on the far side. All the low numbers, Bergerac and Designer, were drawn 1 and I think 2 respectively. And those drawn towards the near side didn't get much of a look in. So Royal Scotsman, Noble Style, both drawn 11 and 12. You just want to watch that first race, the Lau, there was, dramatised drawn 1, and just get a little bit more of a flavour of how things might pan out.
Well, given we're recording this in real time, we'll know in about 5 minutes how the lather goes. So we can go back and have a chat then in a second. And Marshman, as I say, 3-1 with plenty of firms, the one for Ed. Up to now the Nunthorpe, where Royal Aclaim is a 7-4 favourite ahead of the Platinum Queen at 7-2. Highfield Princess 10-1. Cardim and Flotus both 12-1. Emirati Anna and Russell both 16-1, 20-1 bar those. Ed, I am going to come to you first at one point, but I need to go back to Andy for this one again, because he is the man with the stopwatch. And Royal Aclaim was a classic case. Andy, we were texting on the day as well about Royal Aclaim, where visually incredibly impressive the way that he breezed up on the bridle and went clear last time out. Immediately put in as short price favourite for the Nunthorpe. But then word kind of started filtering through that actually the time itself wasn't too much to be getting excited about. So what do you make now a 7-4 favourite for the Nunthorpe?
Well, I mean, it was a good time in comparison to other horses on that card. I mean, it was one of the best times on that 7 race card that day. But like I say, furlong per furlong and pro rata, once you crunch the numbers and award these horses the time figures, it got watered down a little bit because there were other good time performances from lesser horses on the same card as well. So the ground was definitely speeding them up to the point where it was speeding up horses that were rated in the 80s. So albeit it was very close to a sort of track record, it still doesn't come out absolutely as high as you would have thought it might. I mean, she ran to a good number. I think it was a 95 in our time figures, but we've got a whole bunch of horses here, George, such as Highfield Princess 101, Rarsel 101, Dragon Symbol 100 twice, Rarsel again 99, Flotus 98, Highfield Princess 98, 98. These names are used to running 95 hour up to 100 and beyond on a regular basis. She has yet to run anywhere near that. Not saying she can't, because obviously she's going to be in an environment where she's got a good chance of running to a big number. But at 13 to 8, she just wouldn't be for me. Looking at the pace of the race as well, I can see horses drawn particularly towards the near side, Highfield Princess and the Platinum Queen, who clocked a good number for a 2-year-old, both drawn 13 and 14. So again, we have to look at the draw and see how that might pan out. And I'm hoping, for my sake, that it drags along Dragon Symbol into the argument, because I put this horse up at 40 to 1 the other week when I was doing a piece for oddschecker regarding perhaps a horse to have a look at the York meeting. So I do think he'll outrun his odds. But at the prices, I think the Platinum Queen could be very, very dangerous here. A 2-year-old receiving all the weight that is as quick as she is and has got a course and distance win next to her name is very, very tempting. Even though the price has collapsed in recent days, she was like 5 to 1 a week ago. She's now sort of 3 to 1 now. I think she's going to really serve it up to him. I'd sooner back her out the course and distance winners and Royal Acclaim. And as I said, I'm just hopeful that the stand side with Highfield Princess and the Platinum Queen, that Dragon Symbol does get dragged into the argument later on at a big price.
So Dragon Symbol 25 to 1, the Platinum Queen 7 to 2. Now you're getting about the Platinum Queen, and just we've just seen the Lowther where Swing Along has won out of 14, and Queen Me second out of 12, dramatized out of 1, swallowed up in the last furlong. So it
does change very quickly at York. It can do. I did have a chat with someone about that yesterday. They said, "Oh yeah, the low draw," but what you find is that far side of the track gets churned up a little bit. Obviously, they had water ground, they had a couple of showers. The horses run over it. All of a sudden, come day 2, and particularly the last day, they end up coming up towards the stand side rail. I've seen that happen before. It's almost like a bun fight to get to the stand side rail. So you just have to be prepared for it to swing quite dramatically. And looking at the ladder, I haven't seen it yet, but 14 and 12 indicates that, like I say, it's probably there's probably not a huge difference between either side.
Yeah, there we go. Ed, who are you looking at here? One for the Platinum Queen there from Andy, and another one, and a kind of one for Dragon Symbol. Who do you think could be the way to play this?
Yeah, a race that's time ahead in knots, to be honest with you. I think it's fantastic. I started going through them and I thought, yeah, that's got a chance. And I don't know, as you know, I'm a very loyal servant, George. I just wondered, could there be one last swan song in Winter Power at a massive price? She caused a bit of an upset in this last year. By and large, she absolutely loves the Knavesmire. She liked the rain to miss. I think it's fair to say if they don't get any rain, the ground stays on the quick side. Fantastic record here, apart from last time out where they, say there were excuses and she wasn't quite right, etc., etc. I mean, she led them a merry dance in this 12 months ago. I just wonder, she's a big old price with some stunning form at the track in a race where Royal Aclaim I really like, but I'm with kind of Andy's view now. Like, you've got to have some proper nerves, haven't you, to be getting involved at 13 to 8 with a whole host of classy operators stacked in behind her in the market. So look, tricky old trappy contest. I'm going to have a small wager on Winter Power just because 5 furlongs on the Knavesmire is her bread and butter normally. And as I say, if you kind of forgive her run at this track last time out where, allegedly there were valid excuses for that, saying on official figures as well, I mean, she's pretty much up there with the top rated in the field. So I think she's about 20 to 1 or there for last look. So that kind of price, a small each way play for me.
Yeah, Winter Power 20 to 1 with Bet365, who are paying 4 places. On then to the fillies handicap now. Amanzo 11 to 4, Champion 7 to 2, State Occasion 5 to 1, Croach Hill 17 to 2, Real Rosie 11 to 1, Good American 12s, as is Via Sistina. We're going to go through this one pretty quickly, but Ed, anything for you to put up here before Andy gives us his selection?
No, sitting this one out, George.
Andy?
Yeah, I'll just draw everyone's attention to a potentially very well handicapped horse here. The bottom one, Champion. She won very nicely at Windsor last time. I actually napped a horse in that race of William Haggis's called Spanish, who'd run well in a good Newbury maiden. And he was brushed aside by Roger Varian's filly. She got held up towards the back, brought with a lovely well-timed challenge, quickened up well, won by 4 lengths, clocked a big number. And the time before that, she bumped into a horse called Shirar from the John and Thady Gosden stable, who's now rated 87, courtesy of a very smooth victory next time out. So off a mark of 84, I think she's got in very, very nicely here, this champion. The track will really suit her because she is a holder performer that likes to come through late. So 7-2, did you say? That doesn't sound too bad to me.
Yeah, 7-2 champion pretty much across the board there. A pick for Andy in the fillies handicap. 2 more races on the cards. We have the Convivial, which I think we said off air beforehand. Nothing really to put up there, so we're going to skip past into the last race on the card. The mile handicap, operating 4-1. Bay of Honour 6-1. Golden Voice and Lurven Power both 13-2. Bolt Hole 9-1. 12-1. Bar those. Ed, have you got first run in the first? Have you got one for us in the last?
Yeah, I've got my King Power pyjamas back on again. I'm Leuven Power here. Not normally my kind of modus operandi, like the I usually like out of sorts horses who have plummeted down the weights at big prices. But Leuven Power, winner last time out, coming here under a penalty, officially well in, so it's had to be churned out, if you see what I'm saying now. But Salisbury last time out was the first time Leuven Power went up to a mile, and crikey, some stride on this individual. Absolute monster, proper beast of a horse. Like you see Leuven Power in the paddock compared to a few of the others at Salisbury that day, and was dwarfing them. So just a real stride monster, if you like. It doesn't do anything in a hurry, but when you wind this horse up, it was pretty impressive at Salisbury last time out. And I think York, generally we say is a speed-orientated track, but it's there's enough of a home straight here where you can kind of rev a horse up, can't you, at York? And I just think this could be the time to catch this individual. Said the Roger Varian team are flying, officially well in, ground should be fine, but it was that step up to a mile made all the difference. It was running well over 7. You just got the feeling was being restrained, and then up to mile at Salisbury last time out. This is an improving sort. It's a pretty deep race, but I just think this could be the time to strike with Leuven Power. So yeah, that'll do for me for that. My tried and tested method for this podcast of King Power, Roger Varian, and Andrea Atzeni.
Leuven Power 13-2 with 888 Sport and Bet UK. Before we get on to Saturday's racing, here's a starter for 10 for you both. Why Leuven Power?
As
Do you know the significance of Leuven?
No, go on.
It's got to be a football player knowing you, George.
Near enough. So we often see the King Power horses. We've seen Fox Vardy and the rest of it. All the Leicester connotations because King Power own Leicester City. They also own a Belgian club, OH Leuven. So there you go. So that's their other club. Nigel Pearson, when he managed out there after he left Leicester with obvious connections. Oxford captain Elliot Moore also after when he was was out on loan there for a bit as well. So interesting stuff. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, definitely.
It's important to know these things. That's why they named them Leuven, so people can learn about their footballing heritage at King Power. On then to Saturday's racing. Andy, unless you've got anything to add in the last on Friday.
No, I was only really going to endorse Ed's selection, Leuven Power. Good on the clock at Salisbury. So that's good news for with regards to Ed's pick. And I was also very impressed with the way he stayed on. And operating would be the other one as well. I mean, we're not talking about great value here at 4-1, but that also was very impressive on the eye and on the numbers when winning at Nottingham. I think the market's probably about got operating right, whereas Leuven Power at 6-1. I think there's a little bit of
13-2.
13-2, yes, even bigger. So let's not forget about that crucial half a point. So yeah, I'd probably go with Leuven Power as well each way at the prices.
Leuven Power, as I say, 13-2 with 888 and Bet UK. 888 go 5 places though. Bet UK just the 4. On then to Saturday's card, we've got the Strensel Stakes first up over a mile, just extended mile. Mighty Ulysses 6-4. Alphalia is 4-1. Cadillac 13-2. Bashrikova 8-1. Finest Sound 10-1. Sunny Liston 12-1, Mascala 16-1, Marie's Diamond 33-1. Sonny Liston would be a fitting winner on Saturday, given what's going on in the evening. But Ed, who do you fancy in the first?
No strong views, to be honest with you, George. I'm saving myself the real easy races like the Melrose and the Ebor. To be honest with you. I have backed a couple in those contests, so I'm not going to waffle on. If forced, I would go with the favourite, but yeah, as I said, no strong view.
No one's going to force you, Andy?
Yeah, I really like this race. Probably one of my best bets of the week is in this. I do respect Mighty Ulysses, and he beat Alflalia fair and square on the day at Newmarket, although you could have had a case to suggest that Owen Burrows' horse was a smidge unlucky because he had a horse that ran right across his path around about the 2 pole, and he had to check and come with a run again. But I was mightily impressed with the way Alflalia won last time out at Pontefract. The time figure was very good, but he cut down a very good field very easily. It's not easy to do that at the moment at Pontefract. It's very much a front runner's track. So he upgraded his run quite significantly, and it's in keeping with the way that Owen Burrows' horses are going. I mean, he's managed to get a real tune out of that horse that won the John Smiths, went on to win next time out in pretty easy fashion at Haydock. His name escapes me. And also Minzal as well. He's managed to improve that throughout the season. So his horses are very much coming along the more racing they have. He was a bit unlucky in the Jersey as well when he didn't get much room for manoeuvre. But I think the key to him is a well-run mile, and he's obviously got a little bit of extra yardage to run here as well. Not forgetting the 77 yards, and I think that really playing to his sense. In simple terms, Alflalia just simply cannot be out the frame here. If Mighty Ulysses is 5-4, 11-8, or whatever it is, then Alflalia has to be right behind him in the betting, because I don't think there's a great deal between them. So at 4-1, with the dead 8 runners, you know where I'm going with this, George. Yeah. He really does make plenty of appeal to me.
Yeah, one for the each way multis, one for the each way single. Alflalia 4-1 with a few firms at the moment. As Andy says, 8 runners as it stands. So maybe keep your powder dry till tomorrow, just in case 1 or 2 do come out over the next couple of days, or even till Saturday as well. The Melrose now, Sulcombe is the 7-2 favourite, ahead of Wild Crusade at 6-1. Soul Stopper 15-2, Caius Chorister 8-1, 17-2 Al Nafir, Almeric 11-1. 12-1 Nusret, and Inverness 14-1 Bar Doze. And Ed, you said you had a fancy here, so what's the fancy?
Yeah, I'm with the team in blue here. Charlie Appleby clocking ridiculous figures, wasn't he? For today's show, was touching 50% strike rate for August. Well, I think it was 89% first and second or something. Some absolutely outrageous stat I saw floating around on social media. But Yard of Flying, I like this unexposed Wild Crusade. I suppose the negative to start with would be this could be a little bit of a baptism of fire, given that this horse has been used to trying to boss smaller fields and everything. But I just think looks tailor-made for this unexposed, progressive. Over a mile, it was an extended mile 3 on this horse's penultimate start at York. Looked tap for toe, I think it's fair to say. Only got really going late, finishing runner up there. Few people were a bit disappointed with that as a beaten favourite, but I think with hindsight, that wasn't a bad run at all. Just looked, as I said, just a little bit tap for toe back in the at the Dante meeting on quick ground. And then Ascot over a stiff 1.5 miles last time out. It was a small field, but boss proceedings. And again, I thought just looked the better the further he went. So just with that in mind, I think there's more to come, through experience, progression. The fact he's just still lightly raced, but going up in trip for this here, was it 188 yards for those of a pedantic nature, plus 1 mile 5 furlongs. It's a bit of, again, a long striding individual. I think there's going to be more to come. The Yard of Flying, and all in all, not my usual kind of way in here, but 6-1 each way. I'd be disappointed. It's 13 runners. I think some firms were going 5 places. Basically, you got half the field have got to finish ahead of him for you to lose your money. And I said it's not normally my angle in, but this would kind of be the way I go with this horse. I'd be very disappointed if Wild Crusade wasn't in the frame here.
Wild Crusade 6-1, as you say, both with 2 firms, Bet365 and Hills, who are currently 4 places, but I think we can probably anticipate a few more will go at least 5. Sky Bet are 5 places as it stands now. They're 11-2 about Wild Crusade if you did want to back Wild Crusade now. Andy?
The bookmakers have really cottoned onto this race and identified the real target trainers and the horses that represent them. Andrew Balding's won this for the last 2 years with Valley Forge and Coltrane. prior to that, Hamish won for William Haggis. He also won it with Guarantee back in 2012. And in 2018-17, Charlie Appleby won it with Ghost Watch and Secret Advisor. So those are your three go-to trainers. And lo and behold, Haggis has got the favourite, Charlie Appleby's second favourite, and the third favourite, and Andrew Baldwin's got the fourth favourite. So they're very much aware of what's going on here. Soulcombe was obviously a big eye catcher at Goodwood, flopped out the stalls, was last early on, and then flew home. I think the run style, his run style, and York will really suit him, but he doesn't appeal to me at 3-1. I think it was like, well, not even 7-7. If it was at 5-1 the field race, I might have half a look at him at that price, but
yeah,
not at 7-2. I think Ed's absolutely bang on with Royal Crusade. The good thing about Royal Crusade, he's got form at the track. He finished second here the time before. The only problem with him, he's rated 102, and I've gone through the career victories of all the horses in this and what they won off. 98 is the highest rating a horse won off this, and that was Hamish 3 years ago. So he's going to have to do something that no 3-year-old has done. But he's definitely a player. I do like Soulstopper as a horse. I think he's a real grinder and a real out-and-out stayer in the making. If there is going to be a sort of like a joker in the pack and a trainer that hasn't won this race before, and he hasn't, I don't think he's had a runner in this race either before. So he comes here a little bit fresh, as it were. And that's Joseph O'Brien's Nuzret, a horse that's got a very good cruising speed. And he was seen to good effect last time out in a well-run race at the Curragh, cruised into the contention over 2 hours and then just sauntered to the line. He seems to have got his preparation absolutely bang on. He hasn't had a run since. He's rated 91, which I think is workable. And he ties in with some of the best sort of 3-hour handicaps over in Ireland so far this season. He'll handle a variety of ground. He's won on soft, or he's run well on soft, and he's won on good ground. So I do respect the front end of the market, but I do think the market is as it should be. And if there is one that is slightly overpriced, which I don't think bookmakers have quite given enough respect for, it would be Nuzret.
Nuzret 12-1 best price. That's with Bet365 currently 10-1. Pretty much is the market price across the board, and the one for Andy. Now the City of York Stakes. Sandrine is the 9-2 joint favourite with Sacred. Kinross 6-1. Elsa Hales 7-1. Rohan 15-2. Jumbie 9-1. Brad the Brief 10-1. 14-1. Bar those. Andy, will stick with you here.
Yeah, just to tell you or show you my tale of woe at Goodwood, it's a question of how's your luck. I back Sacred at 20-1, anti-post each way for the 7 furlong race. What was it called now? The Lennox Stakes.
Yeah.
I think she's gone off 9-4. I'm thinking, well, surely at the very worst I'll draw off me each way money. She ends up finishing out the frame. So that'll teach me to be a smart aleck and get fancy prices. But she was just probably given a little bit too much to do that day, in all fairness. She actually did the fastest closing section of the first 5 hours. She did 33.9. So
it was a weird drift, wasn't there, as well, in the couple of hours before the race, which kind of suggested that maybe.
Yeah, I think a lot of people looked at her draw and she was drawn 9 of 11, thought, well, she could be a bit far back here. So they're probably prepared to lay her at a bigger price than what she was put in at. And they were absolutely spot on, and that's exactly what happened. She got shuffled back through the field, through no fault of Tom Marquand's. That's just the nature of Goodwood. But she ended up being like with only 1 behind, with 3 to run. And she tried in vain to make up the real estate. She couldn't quite get there. Look, it wouldn't surprise me if Sacred was to turn around the form with Sandrinos, because she is a very good filly on a day, and the stronger they go, the better. The professional bet, again, I'm looking at a race like this and thinking, well, what is the bet here? What's the safety in numbers bet? Sacred's yet to run at the track. Kinross, who obviously finished ahead of the pair, finished just behind Sandrine at Goodwood, is yet to run at the track, but Sandrine has. So the fact that she's already been Kinross and Sacred, and she's run at York, courtesy of the run in the Louth the last season, has got to carry plenty of clout behind it. And at 9-2, why not go with her each way? I see lots of pretty safe-looking bets from an each way perspective. Alflali, Coltrane. You can put these into each way multiples, and you don't have to have the winner. You can still get a nice. She's one of my strategies of the final day to stick her in some each way bets with the ones I've already mentioned.
9-2 there for Andy. Ed.
Yeah, naturally, don't think there's much to split the big 3 in inverted commas, if you like, from that Goodwood run. Sacred should find things a bit fairer here than Goodwood. Sandrine, clearly this trip suits, and this is Andy says got the course form. Kinross, very happy on a soft surface. Again, checking the weather, I say there's a bit of rain Thursday into Friday at the time of recording, but then supposed to dry up at the weekend. So I think on balance that probably goes against Kinross. So yeah, again, not a race I'm massively strong on here. I think there's 3 or 4 in here with major claims, and I'd be lying if I said I was convinced by either one of them. So yeah, very tentatively with Sandrine, but I'm not surprised if any of them 3 or 4 win this.
Tentative Sandrine, yeah, 9-2, as I mentioned there. On then to the Ebor, the big race of the Saturday. We've got Earl of Tyrone is the 6-1 favourite ahead of Garci and Akita Sushi, both at 8-1. Licensed 12-1 with Candleford and Ever Present. Trawlerman, Yukon Glen, both 14-1. Get Shirty, Enemy, and Alfred Boucher and John Leaper as well, all 16-1, 25-1 bar those. 24 runners as it stands. Skybet, sponsors of the race, go 8 places at the moment. Others may follow suit, a couple of 6 at the moment as well. Ed, take us away in the Ebor.
Yeah, I'm 2v the field here. I back 1 anti-post, and I'm getting involved with other later doors. Main selection would be John Leaper for the Ed Dunlop team. This has clearly been the target all year. They've given this horse, I should say, a good look in on the Knavesmire in a couple of small field races in June and July. Ran well without really troubling the judge. But again, I just think the makeup of this race is going to suit far better than those kind of 3-runner dueling contests. I just think this horse has been targeted at this all year. This is a horse who had a lot of hype and back class in his early days, didn't he? Obviously, he was the infamous race at Ios Derby, where, wasn't it, Frankie Dettori came in for the ride on this individual and failed to settle and didn't quite go right, etc., etc. Was always had a touch of class. Was a looked a potential world beater when winning that listed race at Newmarket many moons ago. All in all, I just think this will be much more to his liking. A big field, he can be a little bit keen. This is the type of race you can get him switched off. Say he's been given a good look in at this track, clearly with this in mind. This has been the target for some time. And again, from an each-way perspective, I like horses who've been targeted at this, as opposed to perhaps, how should we say, ones that come in here on sufferance. If someone's saying through the fact that they've been running well and end up here as perhaps that's not necessarily an all-season target. The other one, who I definitely know has been targeted at this because his trainer said on television a year ago, would be Valley Forge for the Andrew Balding team. It won the aforementioned Melrose, as Andy says, a horse who looked very smart when winning on this card 12 months ago in pretty good style. Things haven't quite gone right in recent times, but again, I think it's a case of getting right for the day with this individual. It excels at this track. Andrew Balding, live on ITV Racing last year, he said, I think I've tried to find the footage, but it was words to the effect of perhaps, who knows, we could be in the Ebor this time next year. You know, is the big clue, basically. This was going to be his trick, track and his target. It's going to be a case of all things geared towards this. I think it didn't quite go right at Goodwood last time out when trying to come from off the pace. And again, Andy made a very good point. You know, sometimes Goodwood in a big field coming from off the pace can be a bit of equine bingo. You know, you're hostage to fortune there, aren't you? Behind a wall of horses at that track. So all in all, again, I'm gone with the 2 target horses, if you like. I totally respect those at the top of the market who are in much better form. But John Leaper, previous pattern winner with a touch of class, I think would be suited by this. And in the regards to Valley Forge, previous course distance winner. Again, you should have everything in his favour and has clearly been targeted at this for some time. So that couple at big prices. I said, check your each way terms as you often flag up there, George. There'll be my 2 versus the field in the Ebor.
Great stuff. John Lee, a 16-1 best price, just the 5 places there, but 14-1 with Paddy Power, who are 6 places, could be the way to play that one. Skybet, I mentioned 8 places there, 12-1. Valley Forge, 25-1 best price. That's with Bet365, who are 6 places as well. It's 2 in the Ebor, targeting horses who are targeting this race. Andy, are you doing similar?
I don't think there's probably too many in this race that haven't had this race on their mind for at least 6 months or even a year. John Leaper's one of them, because the connections have set those 2 aside. I agree with Ed, with John Leaper. I watched both of his races back here at York. I don't think he was really connections are that bothered or the jockeys are that bothered if they didn't win. Obviously, they were trying, to do their best, but without a fight who beat him on both occasions is a very good horse. He's rated 113, so he was entitled to finish second, which is exactly what he did. I did like the way he finished his race off a Goodwood the other day over an adequate trip, 1.5 miles. That certainly went some way to believing that that's part of the preparation. And the winner, Rebel's Romance, has gone on to frank the form with a win on the continent next time out. That was a very good time figure. So even though he's technically got a little bit to find with a couple out of that race, his ability to handle the Naysmar, I think, will stand him in good stead. And we know that William Haggas likes to win a big race on the Naysmar, don't we? And this race has been very dear to his heart. And it looks as though he's laid Garcia right out for this as well. He won here early on in the season. That was an indication that William was going to perhaps in a few months' time strong in the 300 grand pot. He was a bit unlucky in the race at Haydock last time out when he didn't get the clues to run. And he got going too late, but that was over 1.5 miles. He's crying out for further. He's a real grinder. That's what you need to win here at York. So basically, I'm just going for the tried and trusted formula, backing 2 horses that have been laid out for the race, that have both run the Naysmar this season, clocked good times. Garcia and John Leaper as well. Agree with Ed.
Garcia 8-1. Best price. Sky Bet are top price 8-1 with their 8 places as well. As I mentioned, John Leaper 16-1, 14's about as well. Adam Kirby taking the ride on John Leaper. 3 more races on the cards. We will definitely we'll go through the 3 of them, and you guys can flag up if you have any fancies. No worries. If not, and the third last race over the Ebor Festival is the Constantine Handicap over 6 furlongs. Comanche Falls 17-2, Regional 9-1, Spangled Mac 10s, Summer Hand 10s, Mum's Tipple 11-1, Tabdeed 11-1, 12-1 Bar. Andy, anything for you here?
No, I haven't got anything in the 6 furlong handicap. I just don't think you can be dogmatic about a race like that until you've seen every single piece of evidence available going into Saturday. I could sit here and say, "Oh, I really like this." All of a sudden, it means absolutely nothing if it's drawn on the wrong side of the track or if the ground changes. If you did hold a gun to my head right now and say, "Well, sorry, Anne, but you've got to give us one," perhaps Mum's Tipple, who bounced back to form last time out, as we know, won the sales race here, well documented as a 2-year-old, and hasn't really kind of gone forward in the way we thought it might. But has slipped down to good mark, and Frankie got a good churn out of it last time out at Newmarket in a good time. Maybe him from stall 14, at least for that one, you're drawn somewhere near towards the stand side right, because I've got a sneaky feeling that's where they'll come Saturday. But no strong view. I'd have more stronger views in the last 2 races.
Mum's Tipple 11-1. Ed, anything for you here before we go to the last 2?
No, just memories of that Mum's Tipple race. Yeah, it was like the new Arazi, wasn't it? When Mum's Tipple just annihilated the field. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was about 8-1 for the Guineas on the back of that. So I mean, on Mum's Tipple though, I just think they've had the horses tripped wrong. They've dropped back to strongly run 6 on fast ground. This is always a horse with gears coming back from 7-6 last time out. Just seemed to really reinvigorate Mum's Tipple. Not a horse that you want to particularly draw the stamina out of. So coming back here over 6 got to be a positive. I'm surprised Mum's Tipple is as big as 11-1, to be honest with you. I was a race I was going to very much get splinters in my backside about. But at a double figure price with Frankie on board, that's probably a few points bigger than I'd probably done the tissue for and would have had Mum's Tipple at. So, maybe if you can get a double figure price for Mum's Tipple, I think it's probably worse bets in that.
Mum's Tipple 11-1, as I say. And then to the Julia Graves Roses Stakes over 5 furlongs. Rocket Rodney 13-8 favourite here. Brave Nation 11-2. Treasure Trove 6-1. Rousing Encore 8-1. Bolt Action 8-1. 14-1 Bar. 10 runners as it stands. Ed, I know you said you didn't have a bet in this one, but Andy, you said that you did.
Yeah, I'm obviously had a soft spot for Rocky Rodney all season long. I think he's probably been, fair to say, he's been one of the best 5 furlong sprinters around of his generation. Unluckily touched off by Little Big Bear in the Windsor Castle race, which of course worked out incredibly well. We've seen what Little Big Bear has done subsequently with him in a whole host of horses. Come out and frank the form, and obviously there's a good degree of confidence attached to him going into Sandown when he obliged. He then went to the Morecambe. Again, he looked as though he got a favourite's chance. The only one that George Scott didn't know about was Trillium, who'd won a maiden at Newbury the time before over 6 furlongs in a reasonably good time. And she ended up being the fly in the ointment because Rocky Rodney beat all those that he was supposed to be, you know, the Eddie's boys of this world. Unfortunately, like I say, he just came unstuck, but it was a very fast time. At the time, it was a track record for 2-year-olds. Of course, it was broken later on in the day by the Platinum Queen. So it wasn't as if he was disgraced. I think Trillium's a Group 1 filly in the making. And he's coming here with a view to taking on board this race as a stepping stone to a race in France on September the 1st. That was the original plan, but this race came up and George has looked at it and thought, are we looking to gift a horse in the mouth here? We need to be taking this on because it's a big meeting, prestigious meeting. It's worth nearly 50 grand to the winner, and he looks the best horse in the race. So I think he's the right price. If there is a danger, I think it might come from the Irish filly, the one down the bottom, Treasure Trove, who's been plying her trade to a really good standard over in Ireland. She was run up to a horse called Maui Wowie last time out, and she also ran behind Lady Hollywood as well the time before in a Group 3. So she's not bad, but I don't think she's as good as Rocky Rodney. But you've got options. You can either back Rocky Rodney at 13-8, or I can see here 6-1 for Treasure Trove from an each-way perspective. So that could be a strategy to look at depending on what kind of punter you are.
And Treasure Trove 6-1 with Sky Bet as well, who pay the extra place, 4 places. So
that's a big price. That, I mean, that'll never be 6-1 on the day. That.
There you go. That sounds like the one to back. But Rocky Rodney, certainly the right favourite in Andy's eyes, and hopefully going on to some more exciting time. It's been a great horse to follow over the course of the season so far. And the final race of the week, over mile 2, we have Phantom Flight is a 3-1 favourite ahead of Special Envoy at 4-1. Injazati at 6-1, Spirit Dancer 7s, Forest Falcon 10-1, Lusander 10-1, Lucanda and 14-1. Bar those. Ed, got to give us a winner in the last.
Yeah, I'm with Lucanda or Lusander. I'm not quite 1,000% sure on the pronunciation, but yeah, Rafe Beckett, Rob Hornby team up here, and it's again, it's kind of labouring the point of Naesmire form. This is a horse who pretty much brings the A game to the table in York. I mean, career form figures on the Naesmire 1-1-0-4-2-3, with the 0 being last year when Clipping Heels. With a rival nearly being brought down, so you can put a line through that run. Other than that, just excels here. Last time out, critics will say, well, look, were there any obvious excuses at the track when finishing third? I think yes, there were. I mean, if you remember rightly, it was just at the start the proper heat wave. The ground was absolutely rattling, and there were spating on runners. And ended up, I think it was a 4 or 5 runner race on that occasion. It was a tactical mess. It was a bit of a run it at Dordal. It was just a messy assignment and no mad pace. I just don't think the race was run to suit. Get this horse in much more of a kind of big field scenario where he could be delivered late on. I think that's much more to his liking. That's his kind of A game there, really. So again, a horse with great track record, looks to be on a competitive mark. And as I said, you could put a line through a small field tactical mess last time out. Back in a bigger field with strong pace. Expect this horse to come with a late rattle. So, yeah, Lucanda for me, off a mark of 99. I'd be disappointed. Officially, on the figures, will need a career best performance. But I think everything's in place for the horse to run a cracker back at this horse's happy hunting ground. So, yeah, Lucanda each way for me in the appropriately named finale handicap.
Lucanda 10-1 with Sky Bet, who are paying 5 places. Only other firms out at the moment are Paddy's and Betfair Sportsbook, and they're 13-2, which could be a sign of which way that is going to go in the market. Andy?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised when you were reeling off those prices a second or two ago, George, that Spirit Dancer isn't actually one of the market leaders here. I mean, he's under 10-1, but I thought 7-1. It's a big price for a horse I think has got the best form coming in here. Categorically, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that this horse holds the best form. He was 4th in what's turning out to be one of the handicaps of the season so far for John Smith behind Anmart. We saw what Anmart did to a good horse of William Haggis's the other day at Haydock. Absolutely blew him away. And I know they think the world of that horse that he beat, Grocer Jack. But, you've seen the second Asher Wells win since. Intelligence has run well in a good race since. We've seen Certain Lad, the horse who finished 11th, run well next time out. Forest Falcon, who was 14th, went on to win at Goodwood. Maria's Diamond was second to Alflalia at Pontefract in the listed race. It's an absolute sensational piece of form. And Spirit Dancer finished a very creditable 4th when he was a bit keen early on as well. Perhaps that affected his finishing effort. He went back to York here next time out and absolutely breezed up. So he's got York form in the bag, easily the best York form in the bag on offer. He's only got to run to the same level, and there's no reason why he wouldn't, for him to be there or thereabouts at 7-1 again. Another horse that you've got to be very, very interested in at the prices.
7-1 Spirit Dancer, the one for Andy there. Plenty of pretty strong views from both Andy and Ed over the course of the 2 days. Thank you to you both for sharing your thoughts and your selections with us. Fingers crossed for a cracking couple of days to finish the Ebor Festival. And thank you both for taking the time to come back on the show. Do download the oddschecker app for the best prices. Bookie offers free bets and place terms, as we mentioned today, and Andy's tips every day of the Ebor Festival and throughout the season as well, straight to the app. And do download the oddschecker app, and do subscribe to the oddschecker YouTube channel as well, where you can find all of this preview content. We did a boxing preview ahead of the Joshua Usyk fight the other day, which I had to host as well, and that is up on site now, so you can go and have a look at that. We've got Racing Weekly every week with Sam Turner and Rishi Prasad, so loads of stuff up on there, and you can find all of this on the podcast channel as well, which you can download from any podcast provider too. Fingers crossed that a couple of the guys' selections go in. I've no doubt that they will, but as is always the case, enjoy the racing and please ensure that you're gambling responsibly.